Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back to do some more wine tasting. Today, I'm going to be tasting through one of my favorite varietals for summertime barbecues, and that is Petite Sirah. So Petite Sirah goes really well with steaks and barbecues off the grill. It's typically made in kind of a bombastic, like a lot of fruit, a lot of tannins, a lot of concentration. And can really stand up to, beef and stuff off the grill, like stronger meats off the grill. I just opened this. I forgot I didn't have my AirPods in, so kind of like restarting this. So I already opened this wine, but the first wine that I'm going to check out is Ironstone Petite Sirah, and this is the 2019, and this is from Lodi, California, which is east of San Francisco from me a little bit. And starting off with this one, it's listed as 13.5 alcohol, which I was surprised is a little bit lower than what I was expecting. A lot of times I'll see Petite Sirah over 14%. Petite Sirah, if you're not familiar, is a cross between the Syrah grape and another kind of lesser known French varietal. I just got to look up what this is. I've never even seen it. It's a single varietal. Payloursan. That's the other grape that it's crossed with. So it produces a super tannic wine, but really, really good with steaks and burgers off the grill. I used to drink Petite Sirah pretty frequently in the summertime. So like Friday night steak dinner, I'd typically go for a Petite Sirah or like a Cabernet. Okay, so this is the Ironstone. The nose is a little closed. I mean, I just opened it up, so gonna take some time to get some aromas going. Pretty tannic. I'm gonna have to rinse out my mouth with some water here and just kind of cleanse it a little bit. Yeah, pretty strong tannins. Almost tastes like that there's some new oak treatment in the barrel aging, which results in kind of a textural taste difference in your mouth. It's like more cream than skim milk, kind of like on the opposite end if they use like neutral barrels or stainless steel. If you use new oak or new charred oak, then it kind of creates a different textural profile, or like a creamy texture. And so I'm getting more of that. Wondering if they use new oak. So they're listing in the tasting notes warm berry pie, vanilla, and pepper spice. Typically when I see vanilla as a tasting note, it's associated with more new oak, because the new oak also imparts kind of like baking spices, or vanilla if they're using American oak. And I guess, going back to the aromas, that would kind of line up with the new oak thing, would kind of line up with smelling more spices than just straight fruit, or fruit with like minerals that you get with other wines that aren't treated with new oak. What I'm wondering in my head as I taste this is after a little bit of time and oxygen, if this is going to be like super delicious. Like the tannins are a little overpowering right now, just like as I uncorked it. Typically, you know, super normal. That's kind of like what you're going to get when you first pop and pour. But I'm really interested to see kind of what this tastes like in a few minutes. So let's move on to the next one and come back and check it out and see how it's kind of evolving. What I also want to figure out is, like, in the taste, if there's some bitter flavors or if they're kind of, you know, more delicious tasting flavors on the fruit. All right. So next up is the Cline Petite Sirah. This is 2019 and interesting, coming from Contra Costa, California County. Contra Costa County, California. So Contra Costa County is east of Oakland. So again, east of me a little bit, across the bridge. This is coming in at 14.5. Let's check it out. Cline has been a California red wine staple for a very long time. Their winery and tasting room is might be considered Sonoma. It's like on the way to Napa, kind of in the Carneros region. Huh? You know, Cline Cellars. Yeah, it says Cline Cellars Sonoma. So their winery is. It looks cool. I haven't visited there before. It's sort of like in the in-between zone, I guess you'd call it, from San Francisco to Napa. So it's like I always drive by it to get to like the the Napa wineries. But I'd love to go check it out one day. All right. Super dark. Again, these wines, I first started drinking these wines, excuse me, when I moved out to California, to the Bay Area. And in the summertime, I started, you know, I love to grill. And so I started grilling steaks. I started doing like Friday night steak dinners and grilling steaks. And one day I picked up a Concannon Petite Sirah, which is from the Livermore wine growing area, which again is east of San Francisco, but south, and kind of like in between San Jose and Oakland, but inland more from the Bay, and really loved it. I loved the big fruit, the big tannins. It was like what you wanted for a Friday night wine. No messing about with anything like subtle. Interesting aroma right off the bat. Like, there's like a menthol or a eucalyptus thing. I've heard, so there's a ton of eucalyptus trees in the Bay Area. They're all over the place. They smell, they smell amazing. I've heard that the oil can get on the grapes and affect the flavor profile. I'm wondering, smelling this, if these grapes are kind of in wind shot, if you want to call it, from from eucalyptus trees. And there's a shit ton of eucalyptus trees in the East Bay. Yeah, there's just like a heavy kind of mentholy smell, and I'm associating that in my head, like, oh, okay, this is these vineyards are growing next to eucalyptus trees. I wonder if they even note that on the back. They don't, but that's coming through big time on the aroma. Okay, so this is what I typically taste, flavor profile wise. The menthol thing, it might be there, but it's definitely not overpowering. This is like big, jammy, new oak. This is like California style from, 20 years ago in late 90s, early 2000s. Like, this is a delicious style of wine. And I think it would go really well with kind of like stuff off the grill that I was mentioning, the steaks and the burgers and stuff like that. Just like a punch you in the face, like big flavor profile, delicious, like this is like that strong flavor that you want to enjoy every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, the eucalyptus kind of mentholy smell on the aroma is just like punching me in the face when I smell the wine. Really cool. I've read this thing about the eucalyptus imparting the flavor, the aroma on the grapes and the wine, but I don't often pick it up when I drink California wines. So yeah, really cool. Like when you kind of like feel like you pinpoint an aroma or like a taste or something like that when you're enjoying wines. Like that's the kind of thing that it gets implanted into your brain, and then you're like, oh, now you can kind of explain, oh, when you see a menthol tasting note or eucalyptus tasting note, it's like, oh yeah, I've had that before. This is smells pretty interesting. Didn't really affect the flavor profile when I tasted it, but it just gives you that confidence to know what these wine writers are putting in the tasting stuff. Man. Menthol eucalyptus for sure. A lot of new oak, big fruit flavor. I'm tasting the alcohol, like I'm trying to cut through the tannin, the fruit, or the oak and the fruit. So it's tough to do on how pronounced they are, but the alcohol is definitely coming through a little bit on the back end, and yeah, hopefully that just kind of dissipates as the oxygen as you enjoy the wine. So like the oxygen interacts with the wine. But man, I wasn't expecting that. That was cool to have that menthol. I'm actually gonna rinse the glass out because it's just like lingering on in the glass even. And I want to make sure I don't start feeling like the next one is necessarily going to have that too, so just dump that out. Yeah, cool wine. Really interesting. All right. So third wine is another big California label. So this is Bogle, Petite Sirah, and then this is, where are we talking about here? Where's this from? Okay, so this just lists California as its designation. So grapes are coming from all over the state, potentially. Bogle's a huge name. They have contracts with grape growers all over the place, I'm sure. So this is coming from anywhere and everywhere in California. What vintage is this? This is the 2019. So Bogle is a big name, California red wine. You see a lot, or at least when I was selling wine 20 years ago, we'd sell a lot of Bogle, Petite Sirah, and then Zinfandel. So Zinfandel was the big seller out of Bogle's wines. Which I haven't had that in a super long time. Maybe I can do a Zinfandel tasting here soon. But let's check this out, see how this is. I've had this before, but it's been years. at least 10 years since I've had this. So I am interested to see what this is going to be like. I think this is a little bit higher alcohol. I think this was coming in at 14.5 maybe. Yeah, 14.5 alcohol. Super dark. I mean, the color on these, they're super purple. Oh man, I mean, the amount of new oak aroma is just like, I think Gary Vaynerchuk, when I used to watch his wine videos, would say shit like, you know, you're getting smacked with like a hacksaw dug-in 2x4 to the face, which I always got a kick out of, that he did like the wrestling, the WWF wrestling references. But yeah, I mean, this smells like new oak, and I'm talking spices and like wood, basically. Yeah, just tons. I mean, there is a lot of new oak flavor coming through, and or a lot of new oak aroma coming through on this wine. It's tough to kind of like parse through and figure out like what sort of fruit flavors, or if there's anything else going on in the flavor, or the I keep saying flavor, the aroma. Maybe it'll dissipate, but man, it's like I'm a little bit nervous and scared to get like beat up with the 2x4, like Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming in and just like nailing me with the 2x4 here. Like I'm gonna be down for the count. Damn. The tannins are, man, it's just a lot of new oak. Oh man, this is tough to drink. There's just so much new oak, like the tannins are just drying my mouth out. I feel like I got kind of like a little bitter taste. Oh man, let me see if I can rinse this off. That was just like, it was too much, man. It was too much to handle. All right. I feel like I'm inside, I'm like tapping I'm like mashing the Nintendo buttons in Mike Tyson's Punch Out to try to like get off the mat, you know? It's like down for the count here. All right, let me see if I can get back into this. Tons of new oak. I think, you know, this will dissipate and kind of smooth out a little bit. What year is this? 2019? 2019. One thing I would say about Petite Sirah and a few other varietals that kind of I associate with this style, excuse me, meaning red wines that are super tannic, but they don't have a ton of, acidity. I like to drink, and I would recommend that you drink these earlier than later, because although the tannins are going to smooth out in a couple years, there's just not enough acidity to make these enjoyable. So, you know, there just won't be a lot of flavor there, versus a wine that has a good acidic backbone to keep the freshness and keep that acidity to pair with food. This will just turn in, like Petite Sirah in general, will just turn into kind of like a flabby wine that will be, you know, you'll lose kind of the good things about it with the punchy fruit and the you know, if you like the baking spices and that kind of thing, or the big tannins. So it'll lose that stuff, but then it won't have the acidity and the freshness anymore. So I kind of bucket this into a few other varietals and just recommend Petite Sirah. Drink it in the first couple years that it's released, because I don't feel like they have the aging potential like other red wines do. Okay, so it's starting to smooth out a little bit. Pretty big flavor profile. I'd say compared to the Cline, you know, the one that I just tried. This just has too much new oak flavors, and you know, I'd be curious to know how they produce this. If they are using kind of the typical wine barrel, or if they're using some other method. You know, I've heard of basically vinifying the wine in big tanks and chucking in like wood staves or pieces of wood staves in as like a cheaper way to kind of impart the new oak flavors. So I'd be curious to know like a little bit on how they produce this wine. It's just it's a very overpowering flavor of the oak. And so it just kind of creates an off-balance taste, and just overpowers things. And there's a little bitterness. I wonder if that'll dissipate though. Come back to it and see how it's hanging. All right, let's go back to this Ironstone. So this is again the Ironstone 2019 from Lodi, California, which is Central Valley basically, and this is 13.5% alcohol. Let's see how this is hanging here. Like I said, I was surprised with the 13.5% alcohol. Most of the Petite Sirah that I see at the stores or that I bought in the past have been definitely 14 plus. I mean, I used to see 15% Petite Sirah as well. I mean, it's just one of those, California, you know, we've got the warmth and the sunshine in the fall that you can get the sugar levels up to that high. So I was surprised anyway to see like a more kind of balanced approach for the sugar content, the alcohol. It's kind of like an unripe blackberry smell. Like it's not sweet smelling. Kind of like a little chalkier, dustier, dark fruit though. You know, like I always put fruit aromas into two buckets for red wine. Dark fruit, red fruit. So we're definitely in the dark fruit category here for Petite Sirah. So blackberry, blueberry, I guess you could do currant, stuff like that. I don't know. I've had currants like 2 times in my life, so I don't even know what they taste like really. I mean, it's the most balanced approach out of the 3 wines. I think this is gonna smooth out, you know, as interacts with the oxygen. I think this is going to smooth out and be probably the nicest wine just based on how balanced it is. They list blueberry on the back tasting notes. I'm sure they taste this so many more times than I do. The blueberry taste, if you pick it up as you drink it, it's not sweet blueberry. It's kind of like, it's dry. So like maybe like those wild blueberries, those small wild blueberries that are kind of not as sweet as some of the ones that you find, or like desserts that you taste with blueberry in them. All right, let me go back to this Cline. So this is the Cline Petite Sirah 2019 from Contra, Costa County. Again, Contra, Costa County is east of Oakland. And east of me in San Francisco, a little ways, maybe like 20, 30 minutes. So this is the wine with the big menthol eucalyptus smell. It's subsiding, the aroma is subsiding a little bit, but still pretty pronounced. Very interesting. It's just fun to smell kind of different aromas in wines. It's just the tannins are just drying my mouth out. I think this one's like the most delicious tasting out of the three in terms of like just flavor, punchy flavor. All right, let's see if I can. Yeah, it's got a real delicious factor in the flavor. More of a like a sweeter blackberry taste or sweeter blueberry taste. I feel like it's more blackberry to me, but than blueberry. Definitely delicious tasting wine. Kind of going back and forth between the Cline and the Ironstone on my favorite out of the three. All right, let's try this Bogle one more time and see if this is calming down a little bit. So again, this is the Bogle from California designation, and then this is 2019 too, right? Yeah, 2019, and this comes in at 14.5 alcohol. Super dark. Always dark. These are super dark wines. I mean, Syrah's super dark and heavier wine, you know? I mean, that's what it is. So the new oak aroma is subsiding a bit, which is nice, but still really prevalent. So excuse me, still getting a lot of just overpowering new oak tannin flavor, tannin and new oak flavor. It's just outmatching everything else going on in the wine. So it's, to me, it's a little bit tough to enjoy just because it's so one-sided in the flavor profile with that new oak taste and kind of like tannin, that it's tough to enjoy as it is. You know, maybe it'll calm down, you know, as it opens up. But I would say recommend checking out the Ironstone if you prefer a little bit more balanced flavor, and you know, you're not super into the like the fruit bomby wines as much, but you want to check out something different. Check out the Ironstone. And then if you are into kind of new, you know, California, big fruit, big oak, Cline is where you want to go. Petite Sirah 2019. Both of these wines will go great with stuff off the grill, steaks, burgers. Enjoy them in the summertime coming up. And I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.